Yo, what up? It's Donut, and you tuning in to all yo Illuminati news. We got a big show for you today. Esoteric crypto, the worldwide bridge rituals are beginning. A total reset. Uh-oh. I got I got I got the video playing in the background. Hold up one second. One
You gotta
second.
reset it.
And we here joined with Waters Above Crypto, Paranoid American, and you know me, Donut. What's going on, everybody?
Man, what a boring series of events, right? It was like the most boring day ever.
Oh, with the election.
I don't know. I guess I am surprised. I am genuinely surprised at the whole outcome.
It is surprising. It feels very 2016 vibes, but astrologically, we are aligned with 2006, 2008 vibes. We are entering like this period, if you remember, when Bitcoin was created. When Bitcoin was created on SoWin, the white paper, the initial release of it, uh, it was around this energy that we're in astrologically, according to astrologers. And if you just think about that time when everything was collapsing, everything seems to be collapsing for the last 4 years or so or longer. Uh, and just think about that. That Bitcoin, it just hit its all-time high. And I mean, that's pretty huge news. Um, it's weird because Trump was against it because he wanted to make America a dollar great, but then you got the whole Peter Thiel, Palantir, deep state apparatus that this is the second layer of the internet. It's the blockchain, and you can see that's who's backing Trump. So we're going to get into not only Bitcoin, crypto hitting all-time highs. We're going to get into the esoteric presence of crypto because we are joined with my good friend, Waters Above Crypto. And before we introduce Waters Above Crypto, I want to let y'all know we're doing these streams every single day for the next 30 or so days. 30, 30 days. Because we are launching the Illuminati comic in 5 days from today. On 11/11, we'll be dropping illuminaticomic.com. Go there. You know you want it. Got the links pinned. And it's going to be dope. So we're going to be streaming every day. Go to the notify me on launch by going here, signing up. You will get the early access to gifts. This is absolutely, if you want to support this channel and support this Illuminati comic, go to the notify me. We just got one new subscriber up there. Let's try to get this crash through 600 all-time highs with the illuminaticomic.com. Enough of that. Let's get to our guest, Waters Above Crypto. What's going on?
Not much, man. I'm grateful to connect with y'all. How have you been?
Oh, doing great. We've been both kind of looking at crypto and these rituals and decoding them through the astrological alignments, as we just had this new moon when Peanut the squirrel was sacrificed. Peanut the squirrel was sacrificed during this type of harvest season, in a sense, during the day the Bitcoin white paper was released, and it was a new moon. And astrologically, new moons are setting the intentions for the full moon, which is coming up on November 15th, where we're arriving into darkness, right? We're arriving into the dark maga. Everything is being harvested for these dates. So I know that you're looking into the same decodes as me, and you've got a lot of stuff to talk about connected to Saturn. As we just saw Joe Biden biting babies, which is a symbol of Saturn. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's all connected to crypto. And I want to hear your thoughts about what's going on right now with all that word vomit I just did.
Yeah, brother. I mean, there's so many different things going on. I try to stay as far away from like what's happening in the mainstream as possible, and I just focus on whatever I have going on in my reality. I create a lot, and this whole election thing that's gone down, I was avoiding it for as long as I possibly could, and then there's just like unavoidable things, right? And this is one of them. And as we've gotten closer, I've put some energy into decoding it past 3 4 weeks, and I've definitely been mind blown at how synchronistic it's all been, all the coding, and not for just this election, but past elections that I've decoded. So, yeah, I mean, like at this time, there's so many things unfolding on the world stage that it's like, where do we even begin? Right? Like everything from major events in weather to this World War III narrative, Bitcoin all time high, Trump winning president again. I mean, like, where do we even get started? There's a billion different things unfolding, and it almost feels like what just happened in the past 12 hours. And I don't want to say this from my perspective, but it kind of just feels like a too good to be true sort
Mm.
of moment. So maybe we could go down that lane a little bit too, where there's now a new intuitive feeling that I have that I did reveal probably 2 weeks ago when I first decided that I think Trump will win by my decodes. I said to everyone, don't get excited. Like, don't get happy just yet if that's the side you're picking, because there are more events to unfold in this upcoming year of the snake, which I do believe the USA will enter war during that year of the snake, just like it has in 1917 for World War One, in 1941 for World War II, in 1965 for Vietnam, 2001 with the invasion of Afghanistan. And I think that it's not going to be any different this time around in 2025. So they're going to be pressing him with an event that he will have to make a decision. Is it about us as a military powerhouse and a financial powerhouse, preserving our hierarchy or our power hierarchy, or is it about the American people? And that's going to be a very tough decision, because over the past 6 months, Trump's really been kind of the figurehead for the leadership role of the people. That's pretty much how he's posturing himself in everything that he does. And I think that's why it's gotten that level of support. But
Well,
remember, what is a war all about, right? It's about sending your people out to go die in a blood ritual sacrifice.
right. And we are leaving the dragon year on 128. And it's part of this huge 128 code. I believe even Donald Trump came out and did his victory speech at 128 in the morning or something like that. Like, so we see this in gematria, as I learned so much of gematria from our podcast together. And the astrological alignments connected to Bitcoin as well, which we're going to go over. But you're talking about leaving the dragon year. And look, everybody, the dragon year we're in right now, and Trump has that dragon energy. And this was the Economist magazine, which does the predictive programming for the future. Just like Leave the World Behind. This is the world ahead, the world behind. It's all predictive programming. And you can see a rough guide to hell in the tragic event that happened in the Middle East on the 128 code, on the 281 day of the year. Kanye went to war on Jewish people on the 281 day of the year. Then exactly a year later, on the 281 day of the year, the tragic event in the Middle East happened. And it's all part of this 128 code. The Twin Towers collapsed at 10:28 in the morning, 128. And bridge collapse equals 128 in gematria. If you look up gematria, you write bridge collapse 128. The Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed at 128 in the morning, so really crazy. But this was the dragon year. We're entering the snake year on 128 on January 28th. That probably sounds so schizo. But the moon cycles are super important for this year. We just saw the dark MAGA Elon show the eclipse we see on the 2012. This is a dragon year. This is a dragon year. So this is predictive programming where Trump is the eclipse. And we're coming up on a rare moon. Is this correct?
Are you talking about this upcoming black moon?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So this upcoming Black Moon will be in December. Technically, it's on our Gregorian New Year. So our New Year's Eve will be a Black Moon, which is two new moons in the same month. And the last time this happened, I believe, was April 2022. And it only comes around like every 2.5 to 3 years. So we'll be having one this December. And that's a big part of my work. Actually, I just did a full presentation on this called The Black Moon Decoded. Within that, I selected Trump as my pick based on a decode that I kicked off that presentation with. And then I also talked about how there's like this lull phase for December moving into January before the inauguration. So plenty of things to get into with that as well. But yeah, I feel with this full moon in Taurus coming up on November 15th, and also the last day that Saturn will be stationed retrograde, that's a very powerful release of energy. So if you're an investor, or you're somebody who's interested in crypto or stocks or any of that, I think that's something to keep in mind. Pretty much the final next phase of this bull run should be completely noticeable by that 15th of this month, and then throughout the new year into the lunar new year, so into the end of January 2025.
Right. So this November 15th is coming up, and this is where the ritual of the moon will be completed from the new moon of Samhain, where they sacrifice the squirrel on the Bitcoin white paper day, right, for Halloween. And then the 15th, and what I've noticed with these ritual sacrifices that happen on the world stage is they happen around a full moon. Young Dolph died like the day after or the day of a full moon on November 17th. We're coming up on November 17th, and that's the 322 day of the year this year. And we're going to also have a rare meteor shower that happens every 33 years. And this black moon coming up with Saturn leaving its retrograde into whatever it's called when it leaves it. But you were connecting Bitcoin to Saturn when we first spoke.
Yeah, 100%.
So I don't know what your thoughts are with Biden, but I've been looking at him as he is Saturn. He's Scorpio. He rules Hades, and he was the symbol of biting the babe. That was him on Halloween, right?
Yeah. Biden's an interesting character because part of me thinks that he has no idea what his script is. So he's just going with the flow. He's just going with the flow, like wherever the winds take him. So I'm not sure how intentional the things are that are going down with him. But yeah, that's an interesting connection you've made with Saturn and with Biden. I think in my thoughts with the mythology of the presidents is not fully decoded just yet, but I could definitely take the time to piece it together. I mean, the movement from Bush in the 2000 event is very important, right? We all know 9/11 was probably the moment where a lot of people became illumined to what's going on in the world stage, the so-called New World Order. So I think there's something there, man, mythologically, where it's like we had that movement from the year 2000, the end of the dot-com bubble, 2001 event triggered this next 20-year period where then it kind of gets, punctuated by the event of C19. And then now we're still in the we're in the C19 phase still to this day. And yeah, I mean, plenty of things to say, but there's probably some syncretism for Bush, Obama moving into the momentary Trump win, and then going into the Biden years, which for me are just an extension of the Obama years. And then you have the kind of two pieces of bread to the sandwich with Donald Trump twice, but separated by that momentary weirdness of 2020 through 2024, the post C19 years, which I think were the most confusing for all of us, right? Because a lot of people who had faith in the election lost faith in elections back in 2020, right? They all believed it was rigged. Like there's no way that could be possible. Everyone thought Trump had it. But then we also had a lot of other events going down at that time. We had the 2-year lockdown. We had a crazy bull run. We had a big market crash. We had Fauci leave. We had all sorts of shit, you know? And I mean, just this year, we were making the joke before we got started. Biden broke up with America in a tweet and then handed the baton over to Kamala. Now she's running for the president. She loses. Liberals are having a meltdown. And I mean, we're just kind of in the pinnacle event, but it's so much more different today than it was back in like 2020, for instance. Like we have a lot more clarity after what happened last night. And that's what's making my intuition feel a little off. But I think Biden isn't as serious as people might want to make him out to be. And that's not to discredit what you're saying, Donut. I just think, yeah, like the whole Biden thing was to have somebody in there that's slowly decaying while the corporation of the United States of America slowly decays.
I mean, that's exactly what the King Kill 33 ritual is all about. It's about the health of the king, not just representing the health of the nation, but indirectly causing the health or the success of that nation, so that allowing Joe Biden to slowly wither away with his dementia in the White House, that had the exact same effect on the rest of the nation. It's almost like a very strong form of sympathetic magic, where he was elected to be our mascot / proxy, almost like our hero. And if our hero dies, then we die with him.
Yeah, there's definitely something up with that. And also, before I get into this, we just crashed through over 1,000 people. I like to remind everybody, every time we pass through 1,000 people tuning in, to smash that like button, share this video out. It helps with the algorithm. But what you were talking about when you first were talking about the feelings, like these are cathartic experiences. I mean, we have been traumatized. We saw the 713 assassination attempt on Trump's life, right? Think about that energy harvest ritual. Then Peanut the Squirrel sacrifice, right, on the world stage. Like these are all loosh festivals, triggering different groups of people. It's all about harvesting these different emotions, and it's charging these different sigils on the world stage, where it gets wild. But I like that you're aware of the emotional state of it, because that is sort of how things are played out in poker, probably, or something like that, or chess, or I don't know. I don't play either, but I'm sure it's an emotional game.
All things being equal, if you have two players in either of those games that have the same skill levels, then it does become all about not just like holding your emotion back, but reading the other person's emotion. That's like if you got two poker players that have hands and similar skill sets, and one's got to tell, and they can't hide it because it's like an emotional response that they're having, either excitement or disappointment. The other person on there can just dominate as soon as they find what that tell is, because now that's the chink in the armor. Like that's the Achilles heel, with again, with all of the things being equal.
Right. And that's why it's called a poker face.
Yeah. There's also this element too that I remember learning from Mike Tyson when he was talking about like who would win between him and Muhammad Ali. He was interviewed about this, and he said Ali every time. And the reason why is because Ali would die to win. He would die. He would go all the way till the very last breath. And Mike Tyson said, I could never do that. So Ali is a savage. He's an animal. Like there's nothing about him that's a human being. Like while most people would give up, he just doesn't stop. So that was pretty wild. And he got like emotional. He started crying when he was explaining this. He was explaining the difference between him, how he acts like a savage and he's this tough guy, right? That's what Mike Tyson was perceived as. But he said like there's something about the real champ, the real person who will never go in defeat just because they're tired or just because of that kind of stuff. So, oh yeah, speaking of which, doesn't he fight this YouTube streamer or whatever the fuck he is soon?
Is that still happening?
Yeah, so this
I kind of tuned out to that, but it's it's on November 15th.
Exactly.
Oh wow. So we were just talking about that. That's huge, guys, because look at this. Can I quickly go through this real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I haven't decoded this at all, but this is black and white, right? This is your duality. This is subconscious, conscious mind. This is like Morpheus versus the architect. That's what the idea is, right? Where this is kind of deep. Even the boxing gloves are showing you clear. The checkerboard, the Masonic checkerboard. So we have red pill, blue pill. Mike Tyson has become known as this wise kind of Yoda. And on the other side, we have a fucking clown. So, gonna be very fascinating to see how this goes down because it's obviously scripted, and I don't know the money behind it. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of betting, but it's funny that also it's in Arlington, Texas, because Texas has been ritualized so much. This ties back to the Great American Eclipse with this X that was formed between October 2023 solar eclipse and the April 8th solar eclipse of this year, 2024. It's all about Texas. So pretty wild that this is going on. I had no idea. I thought this was supposed to be a while back, and then I heard it got rescheduled, and I'm just too busy to keep up. But the fact that it's on November 15th is perfect because it's the full moon. They're going to get so much fucking prana for this, guys. It's on a Friday. That's Viernes. That's Venus Day. This is tied to Taurus. It's a full moon in Taurus. Who rules Taurus? Venus. This is perfect. What's Venus? It's the light bearer, Lucifer, the bearer of light. So through all the darkness shines the light. That wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if Mike Tyson loses in a scripted loss.
Oh, I feel like
Well,
that's
yeah.
the natural event here because, like, even you mentioned Arlington, right? Isn't Arlington where JFK is buried? And we're talking about the killing of the
Amazing
king,
connection.
the king kill ritual, and
Amazing
that
connection.
also this new wave of like youth are going to be called the Alpha, I guess. Like instead of they're not doing the Gen X and Gen Y and Millennial, it's going to be Gen Alpha. So what would be more appropriate than showing that this like narcissistic, influencer angle defeating actual merit-based training and like decades of wisdom and grizzled experience? That's sort of like flushing that out. Like we don't need to relate to that in the new world that they're ushering in. The new world is that everyone gets to be an expert if you can just consume what's given to you and repeat it in the right way. And that's kind of not what I think Mike Tyson stands for, but that's all the more reason to phase him out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah, that'd be interesting. Because didn't he lose his podcast, or was he like? Did he quit his podcast? What's the story behind that? Because it was doing amazing, right?
Mike
well,
Tyson's?
Yeah, he had this hot boxing podcast. I believe it was very successful, and then it got taken down, or did he end it? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure, but my hypothesis through my new symbolism that I've been researching and
Mhm.
covering these UFC fights since UFC 300
Mhm.
is the Sampaku eyeballs. The Sampaku eyeballs show the demise of Jake Paul. And this is a new hypothesis that I've been looking at since UFC 300.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure how long ago that was, but it wasn't that long ago. It was this year.
Bro, I
And
just found something powerful. Continue what you're gonna say, but then
no,
I'll
tell us.
share something. No. I want to hear what you're
My
explaining
audience,
about this.
my audience is sick of it. It's all I talk about is the sound. So my hypothesis is whoever has these Sampaku eyes,
Mhm.
the three whites underneath, will lose. And I've been correct, but see, it has to be the main image.
Mhm.
And this looks like it is the main image. I wish I could get a better
Mhm.
one, but what's going on?
Oh, yeah. So I think I just found a connection that's pretty powerful. This will be his 59th boxing match. If
Who?
this is
Tyson?
Mike Tyson, if this is considered going under his professional record, which I don't think it will, but if we were to just look at it from that perspective, it's the 58th. And
Oh, that's kill, right?
that would
Murder.
mean his 59th is this one. And we're in the year of the dragon. And dragon in basic gematria, ABC equals 1, 2, 3. If you type in dragon, you'll get 59. So 59th fight in the year of the dragon, right after this loss. I mean, Kamala loss. I mean, this is interesting. I'm not gonna sabotage this whole podcast we're doing right now with decoding
Sabotage
this.
it.
No, I mean, it's just I
We
haven't given
wanna know.
I haven't given any attention to this at all. I just find some interesting code in it. It seems that this would be his 59th boxing match. I guess he did do one against what's his name, Roy Jones Jr. That was kind of like a publicity thing. during COVID, right? Sorry, during C19.
Right.
But when I'm looking at his official record now, it says that he has 58 total fights, and 50 total wins. Now, what I figured out with my Trump decode was I was talking about Mars a lot because the election day is on Martes, day of Mars. Mars in Gematria equals 51 and 15. And the date numerology of yesterday was a 15. And Elon said many times, voting for Trump is voting for Mars. And you all know Mars is the god of war. So this is saying if
Oh,
you
wow.
win war, if you win, then you have war, but you have it with this guy. And then also his name in Gematria, Trump, just Trump alone equals 47. He just became the 47th president. And what's the number tied to the most famous gun ever? The AK-47. So putting it back into context with Tyson, I don't think this will go under his professional records. Some of the things I'm saying right now might not be applicable for the decode for this particular event, but that would be 51 wins for him if he was to win. And then that would kind of like cancel, that would like be the end of that energy for him, and that would be the way he goes out. But I'm not saying that he's going to win. I don't know if I have the time to thoroughly decode this. I would have to look into his career, like where did he get started? I would have to look into his Chinese zodiac, his particular astrology. I just kind of feel that there's some a cash grab going on here, and the New World Order is using streamers as the new celebrities because the old celebrities are no longer useful. So
Oh,
people don't give a fuck about Lady Gaga anymore. Nobody cares about Joaquin Phoenix or any of these. What they care about is people like what's his name? Kai Cenat.
Yeah.
They care about I Show Speed. They care about Jake Paul. They care about
McDonald's funds Kai Cenat. McDonald's is owned by
yeah.
Billy Bob, right? Billy Bob. You know who I'm talking about. Everybody, part of the whole Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett apparatus.
No, I'm not sure.
Bill Gates.
Yeah, but I feel that that's.
Can we
the
not
move.
say his name out loud?
Yeah, it's a name you can't say, but
yeah, the connection there is pretty. Just to talk about that for a minute, and I would love to know your guys' thoughts because maybe you all feel different, but I just kind of feel that the old celebrity is gone, and this event that just happened with Diddy is proof. Where we watched what was it, like Jay-Z and Beyonce's Instagrams drop by like millions of followers within moments.
good.
And we're watching the decline of it. And then as of this morning, I mean, maybe some of you have seen people are all like, show me the Epstein flight list now, because that was something that Elon said a couple weeks ago when he was talking to what's his name, Tucker Carlson. He said the big reason why he thinks all these celebrities and politicians are supporting Kamala is because they don't want the flight list to come out. And we all know this is all fucking bullshit. This is a script. This is a scam on both sides. Because Elon's hanging out with Epstein too. So it's all just like keeping the chess game going for as long as possible.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's for sure. 100%. They're all on the flight log.
Yeah.
What it is, it's the new Illuminati. It's the new money. It's the new money coming into the game in the power structure. Who was the leader of Bilderberg this year was Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel and Elon created Bitcoin. And this is the PayPal mafia. This is the second layer of the internet. This is what they're going to put the voting system on, is on the blockchain. So this is JD Vance, Rumble. It's just it is the two sides, wings of the bird. I think it's absolute blessing though that this election was a landslide for Trump, because we don't have to wait to see. No, we don't know who won for another week or 2 weeks or however long that it's out. So it is an emotional day, because it's a sense of relief. Because
these are a sigh of relief. Exactly.
It's an orgasm. So like every single thing goes back to sex. Are y'all ready for some sex? Symbolism. Everything is friction, the explosion, and then the release. And the orgasm's the only time when people can release their ego. I've heard that, read that in some or control, because you have no control for that little big bang moment of time. But the elections were full of sexual symbolism. where Biden, he pulled out because Kamala's was bigger than his. And then Trump did fellatio on the world stage like that. These are what the mainstream saying. But then Kamala started edging Trump in the polls. And then
Dude, this is poetry. This is a poetry slam right now, bro.
Even beyond that, I was watching the news coverage the day of, as they were starting to count all of the tallies. This was on ABC, I think. And some of the verbiage that they were using against Trump was incredibly homoerotic in that they were saying, like, isn't it odd how Trump is really laser focusing these young Latino men? And they kept like rephrasing that Trump is going after young men, and that it's all he's got in his mind. They just want young men in the Republican Party, which has some other correlations to it, right? But like they were even sexualizing it without knowing it, just by describing and being offended by it. But like in effect, adding more and more emotion to what would otherwise just be like benign reading out, like almost just statistics. But they were like injecting this energy into it for like a frustrated, frictional energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
amazing how they're doing this, because it's going back to what you're talking about earlier. It's like a big prana harvesting ritual, and there was the release as of yesterday, but now the cleanup crew comes in, and you know what their next play is. So there's gonna be so many psyops that happen next year, and I think one thing what were you gonna say, brother?
Well, you were asking before about the stars. Does anyone think that, stars are changing and drifting? And this ties directly into sex magic too, and sex rituals, because that whole concept of being a star is very Crowleyan. It was like an Aleister Crowley quote about that, where the men and women are desiring to be stars. And once you get a big enough star, you start attracting other stars, and they start gravitating towards each other and create like bigger and bigger stars. But that was only practical. It was only feasible for the longest time if you had the resources to actually go and get yourself recorded, either on film or on music or something, and then promote it out through the country, which is a long, slow process before internet. But now the internet comes over, it almost seems that the whole concept of Hollywood stars was just the bait. That was the training. That was to show everyone, hey, if you're a star, look at all these great things that you can have. You can't do it yet, because unless your mom, your parents drive you out and move to LA or whatever. But the whole world, worldwide, outside of America even, was sold on this star lifestyle. And now that all those barriers to entrance don't exist anymore, Justin Bieber being a great example, right? He didn't have to move anywhere. Taylor Swift didn't have to move anywhere. They were able to kind of become stars in their own right. And all that is, it's a transfer of saying, okay, keep desiring that same stardom, but now you don't have to go to some geographic region. And now it's like the stars breed themselves and are advertising themselves for everyone to pick up on. And that's when I guess the labels or the movie studios and the managers, they jump on it the exact same way, but they don't have to nurture it anymore. They can just wait for these stars to pop up. And I think that's the most nefarious angle, is selling people on stardom as an end result, as like it's a noble or some sort of goal to attain to, because that's, in my opinion, it's like the most satanic mentality you could have, is I want to be a star. It's literally coming out of Crowley black magic.
Yeah, there's something about it, because you become this vacuum of prana when you are a star. Like you're a ball of light, and that light needs to be utilized, and the apex predator, the elite, whatever you want to call them, they know how to use that energy. But the people that are worshipers of these so-called new celebrities, the streamers, etc., they don't know how to work with energy at all. They're just kind of like leaking their energy out onto everything, and it's endless, and they have no ego at all. Actually, it's funny when people talk about the ego in the standard viewpoint. I'm not against it, but my take on the ego is, if the ego was, if I could visualize it as something, it's a gas tank and it has 1 million holes punctured in it. That's what the average person is dealing with. Their ego is a gas tank with 1,000 holes. And when you run out of gas, you need to go back to the gas station, right? You need to fill it up. And how do we fill it up? We fill it up with content. We scroll through Instagram and TikTok and OnlyFans and all that stuff. That's how we get gas. But remember, your gas tank is punctured with 1 million holes. So the energy just leaks everywhere. But the elite, the people who run the world, they have the strongest ego out of all of us. That's why they're able to, in the 0.0001%, able to control all through these optics and through the machinations of what runs the simulacrum. But then the celebrities, the influencers, whomever, they're actually just a vessel for the hypnosis of the common man, the damaged egos that are making up the 99%. And then the ones that are quote unquote illumined, you're waking up to this now and you're able to be more playful with it all. You're able to be entertained by an election, whilst there's people right now who voted for Kamala Harris that are like suicidal, right? Like they have no ego. Their ego is completely destroyed. But people that have strong egos, they're able to take this moment and go, okay, what did we learn here? What could we do to apply this knowledge, this gnosis, to the next chapter of this insane script, and then keep it going? So I think right now we're watching that transference of energy happen live. But for me, it's all about protecting your energy. And I think what you just said a moment ago is so key. People have been sold onto this idea of stardom and that should be the thing that they seek, that they should strive for. But we see how empty you become when you are that person that's in that position. Like, I mean, I've seen these streamers, they're like walking through a restaurant that people are like having a meal at, paying to have a meal at, and they're walking through the fucking restaurant with 15 dudes in there behind them, probably like some friends and also some bodyguards, and they're live streaming themselves making a video as they're storming through a restaurant. It's like there's no respect, there's no morale, there's no class anymore with these people that have become the new stars. And the same thing goes with, I mean, just all the new porn that's on the internet through these platforms such as OnlyFans. And a lot of people don't even realize that Andrew Tate, he actually made a majority of his money by creating cam girl websites. And I've tried telling people very early on about all of this. Like
we did podcasts on it, me and you.
Yeah, like why doesn't nobody wanted to talk about that during the year of the tiger? And I was saying you got to watch out for this because this whole thing is going to eventually come back to him. And then of course he got imprisoned during his zodiac year as well. So that's symbolic, also tied back to this what's going on with Kamala, because she was born in the year of the wood dragon, and we're in the year of the wood dragon right now. And you know, all these people that teach Chinese zodiac, I mean, probably there's some good ones out there, but I see all of them that are like, the dog year is the enemy sign, and that's going to be bad, and that's why Trump will lose. And then I showed in my last decode, and this is very important to consider if anyone cares about the decoding side of things. The San Francisco 49ers, they started their first season in the NFL during the year of the dog in 1946, which was the same year that Trump was born. Yet they won the Super Bowl for the year of the dragon in 1988. So people who do Chinese zodiac and they start like applying these very like basic rules, they even have some horrible decodes that I've, that are out there. And it's just be careful when we're making those connections. But all of these ideas are kind of coming out right now, and we're all becoming hip to them. I mean, even things like gematria. And we're the ones that are sharing that with the world. We're the ones that are bringing that to the attention field. So I think the quote unquote New World Order, they're aware of this too. They're aware that like there's the same way that people are becoming famous, like Justin Bieber and Taylor Swift and the people you named. Well, there's going to be people out there that are really telling the actual fucking truth. And they're going to get big. They're going to get hundreds of thousands, 200, 500, 600,000 subscribers. And what do they do to manage us? So I'm interested in the way this chess game is going to play out because we're a part of it too. Like we are technically here on the internet doing what we're doing, and we have a huge outreach.
I didn't know about the 49ers. You said 1946 they came together, and their name is a reference to 1849, as in the gold rush, because that's when they first found gold at Sutter's Mill, and everyone rushed over to get there. But before that, the only reason I know this is because I have another show called Monthly Mormon Monday that I do with Heidi Love. But in 1846 is when the Mormons, they all left for San Francisco. The original group that decided to go to San Francisco, they left in a ship called Brooklyn, and they basically considered they were fleeing Babylon, and they were trying to leave Babylon and go to this new promised land. And then 3 years later, the gold rush starts in this place that they originally were destined for. I don't think they made it all the way to San Francisco, but that was the original rush before gold was even found. That they had kind of designated that area as the escape from Babylon, and lo and behold, that's where people ended up being able to escape from the current system, because this new resource of wealth was discovered that was now accessible to anyone that took the time to mine it and understand it, which kind of has so many correlations with cryptocurrency now. It's almost the same analogy, just in a digital realm.
100%.
And less Mormons.
Well, you know, we're talking about astrology. If you're just tuning in, we got over 1,400 people tune in. I want to remind y'all to smash that like button. We're joined with Waters Above, Paranoid American, and we're going over esoteric crypto and worldwide bridge rituals as Bitcoin has hit all-time high during this new PayPal Mafia election. Because you'll see if you just like... but we're talking about a bunch of other topics as well. And I kind of want to add on to what Waters was talking about with these new propagandists. The new propaganda arm is the influencers, right? So Edward Bernays' books and all the other propagandists realize that you need to get the influencers to sell you a product. So to get you to smoke nicotine, to get you to smoke the cigarettes, they had all these female actors smoking. So once all these female actors started smoking on the simulacrum, which is the billboards, which is the matrix, it's an ideal image for us to imitate. That's why it's Andrew Tate. He's this ideal image on the new billboard of the Google Information Highway, which is YouTube and all that, which is straight a military asset, just like Starlink satellites. Starlink satellites on the Joe Rogan show, Elon was saying, no one not from America can work here at this country because we are the military, because of our space. Like, I can't even say these words together, but lasers as well, where they can do these direct energy attacks on whoever they want. And this is called fifth generation warfare, where it is the social engineering. Social engineering is this new drone, lasers, and misinformation using the different influencers like Jake Paul. Jake Paul and Logan Paul, they're straight connected to a leftist organization. I saw them come right down the street over here where I live, break into a business with a crew of people. It was just orchestrated. I saw it with my own eyes. And they weren't arrested. They weren't in any trouble, breaking into Arizona businesses and stealing with a mob rule, which is the Democrat. The demo is the mob rule. And these are the influencers. Now they're saying that they're pro-Trump or whatever. I do not believe it one bit. It's, you want to be on the winning team. I've seen all these new influencers go from saying, like, what I've noticed is that the people who say that they're part of the right are actually absolutely on the left. And you can see it through their symbolism, through their ideology. And these are influencers on the world stage, like the Greta Thunbergs of the world and whatnot. But people on the right are supporting Kamala, or supporting Greta, or support, like, it's absolutely obvious to see. And they are using these influencers. Sorry for the long rant. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I get so passionate about these topics of these influencers, but they tell people to smoke cigarettes. I'll wrap it up with this. They tell people to smoke cigarettes, so people start smoking cigarettes. That's why the right is pushing cigarettes. You got to smoke cigars if you're Andrew Tate, or smoke hookah. If you're Tucker Carlson, Mockingbird Media, you got to eat your Zen mints. If it's pushing these products because they're owned by these big businesses. And I can't wait for the fluoride to get out of the water. Sorry for the rant, but it is the new
problem. I want to point out too, the cigarette and the cigar thing is also one part of that knee-jerk reactionary anti-wokeness, where it's like, oh well, the woke won't let me smoke cigarettes inside a restaurant anymore. So therefore, I'm going to use that as another thing to identify and align as setting myself apart from, right? Even if
Right.
I know people that literally don't even like smoking cigars, but they do it because it exudes that like machismo feel, and not because they want to feel like a man, but because it feels like they're engaging in a culture war. Like, I'm fighting back right now by going and buying this cigar. It's probably put together by globalist, sort of like apathetic to American politics, right? Like, just buy the product and we're on your team.
It becomes like, exactly, that's exactly it. And so these influencers, they lead you to buy a product or take an action, and that's how you can figure out who is an agent in a sense, is because they want you to take a certain action. That's like usually when it comes to voting, when it comes to going to events and stuff like that. It's
Haven't you guys realized that like this election, what it really made come to life was now there's faith in the electoral process again.
oh yeah, for real.
Maybe
And-
for some people.
No, but
Definitely
like that's
me.
kind of like we're speaking in the general here, but I do believe
Yeah.
even some quote unquote truthers that are not fully, ripened just yet, they've also made this kind of epiphany that, oh, it must be real then because the popular, kind of direction seemed to be going in this angle and he did win, right? But back in 2020 when he lost, those people were saying it's rigged, it's fake, this, that, and the third. Now this time around, those same people they have faith in the system again. And with that not Trump, Rogan podcast, but the Rogan Elon podcast that came out the day before,
Right.
that was all they were talking about. Like, he even made this statement that seemed very draconian of like, this is the last election, right? He made that, like, looked into the fucking camera and said it during that. And I paused for a moment and I thought, whoa, they're really building up this prana for the belief in that the election process is real and that these votes are real and that these people are not pre-selected and that it's not part of just the grand scheme. And now some people might think that, I sound crazy or you sound crazy for looking at it like it is this grand chess game. But
Oh, everybody thinks I'm crazy.
but it's funny that I now see very clearly, and there's a couple of things that I had in the decode leading up to this moment last night in my Black Moon Decoded, and I wanted to share one of them with you because I think it's kind of fun, something that we could
Nice.
go back and forth a little bit about. But it had to do with the 1988 election because in the movie Donnie Darko,
Mm-hmm.
Donnie Darko was during the Year of the Dragon. And the movie
Oh.
Donnie Darko was released literally at Sundance the day before George W. Bush was inaugurated in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
So this is massive because it was released during the year. It was technically being prepared to release in the Year of the Dragon, and then it took place in the Year of the Dragon in the actual movie. And the main character's name is Donald.
Mm-hmm.
So there's obvious connections to the Year of the Rabbit because we have the rabbit, right?
Right.
I forgot his name, the rabbit in the movie, Frank, and the end of the world and the numerology, everything there. But the voting for Dukakis and how that was brought up several times, there was that election theme throughout. And Prescott Bush won that election. I believe that's very symbolic. That was also like not considered a landslide victory, but it kind of was. So it seems that this election is parallel to that in a lot of ways, the one that just happened last night, because we got these results immediately. And a lot of even truther communities thought we would have this arduous, dragged out, like catastrophic civil fucking war today, and it ended up actually what you just mentioned a little bit earlier, like it's kind of uneventful. It's almost uneventful that the way that it went. That's not my opinion, but that's what I think some people believe. But this Donnie Darko connection is massive, and I brought it up during my Year of the Dragon Decode, or my, not the Year of the Dragon Decoded, but my Black Moon Decoded. Massive connection, and now I'm starting to realize with the way this event went, this was much more like the 1988 election instead of the 2000 election, which obviously we all know had the recount with Gore and Bush. It took like 5 weeks to get results in December. Bush conceded, or Gore conceded on December 13th, 2000. And we had the dot-com bubble that year. A lot of things are different this time around. But in 1988, we had the Black Monday crash.
Right.
So
Black
I don't know.
Moon Day, Black Moon, Black Monday, Black Moon.
Oh no, sorry. That I apologize. It was 87, right? I need to look back. I
Yeah,
do
but
believe
still, it's probably a dragon year still. October 19th.
That 2000
maybe not.
election with the hanging chads that took the 5
yeah, it was
weeks,
87
and all
where
the
the Black
pictures of the people like holding it up and like inspect. That was the first election that I ever participated in, and it just ruined any of the illusion for me forever. Like I firmly believe, and I get criticized for this often, but I really think that it might not be as cut and dry as it's just straight up rigged, and they've selected exactly who it's going to be. I think
Sure.
it happens more in a really subtle way where it's basically like, and I'll paraphrase because this meeting doesn't actually happen, but imagine this meeting just happening constantly in thousands of cities and someone's like, wait a minute, isn't this not secure? Because someone could just do X, Y, and Z and totally tip the scales in this county. And someone probably looks at them and they're like, you're right, they probably could. And it's just kind of left at that. And I think that the system is set up so that anyone that wants to take that initiative to sway something in ways that are other than the normal, like, legal versions, that there's so many like doors left open, like windows that are half cracked left open in that kind of analogy, right? That it's whoever wants to be bold and try and do it, and no one will necessarily call them out because they've all got dirt. It's just like this, it's like a blackmail operation on,
Sure.
oh, well, if you call us out for rigging this part of the country, we'll call you out for that rigging that part. And then everyone's like, let's not get too crazy. Like, okay, we'll see you guys again in 4 years. Well played. Like,
Yeah.
I liked your strategy on this time. We'll meet again. It's almost like two teams meeting off again for a Super Bowl and trying to win again.
100%, bro. Like, yeah, there's so many globalists that are way above and beyond in power. It's all compartmentalized, and whoever you're getting is the guy that shows up to speak in front of the microphone is clearly not powerful.
Another thing with Donnie Darko, maybe to add into the decode that I found, which is interesting, is the date that the end of the world starts to kick off, where he gets the message, is on October 2nd, which is 201. October 2nd, like backwards.
Or 82. October, octagon, 8-sided polygon, 8-2, or 2-8. And what's the amount of days? It's 28 days.
There's 28 days. Yeah, that's
exactly.
Yeah.
So this
later.
If I could break it down a little bit more, 2-8 or 28 is 2 8s. That's 88. That's the analema, the way the sun moves. So you have, it's really more spiritual warfare, this concept. But guys, remember the way that Donnie dies. A fucking like plane engine lands in his bedroom. What was the year that Donnie Darko was released? 2001. The World Trade Center attack. Plane crashes into building. This movie fucking showed you what it was.
Well,
this was their ritual.
I don't know if you noticed, but this year the same thing sort of happened. A plane crashed into a person's house.
So there's a lot of plane crashes that happened this year. What one are you talking about?
So I was connecting it to Donnie Darko and all of that. It was like a month ago, a plane crashed into a house, and I think it hurt 2 and killed 1. So it was 2201 kind of.
Yeah. I mean, there's been so many plane things this year. Like, remember the former Iranian president Abraham Raisi? He died in a helicopter crash. That was likely an assassination, just taking over.
100% assassination.
Yeah. So this is all air rituals. We're moving into Aquarius. This is air symbolism, and we're not fully there yet, though, because we still have cash and we still have paper passports. We're not fully blockchain just yet, but we're there. We're getting close, and I think Trump is, no offense to the people that believe in this shit, but Trump is the perfect guy to have in posture to push us into the blockchain economy and all of those things. And they're going to make it seem like we're not going to do CBDCs or we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that, but they're just going to implement it with a different title. It'll be the same thing, different avatar.
You know, the Illuminati does things on century-long goals. We live in this where we only think of what's the next meme I can look at. We live in such a quick goldfish world of thinking.
Exactly.
Now, if we could kind of think like the Illuminatus of maybe let's think of a decade-long goal. Let's think of something for 10 years. Let's plan it out. Let's write a business thing. Like this whole show of Trump being elected, he could have sat down and been like, yo, look, we're going to actually have y'all steal the election, have Biden put Biden in so we can implement all the Biden regime stuff and I won't take the fall for it. And then you guys put me in after it where everyone's going to be begging for the Neuralink, because that's where it's all headed to. So it could be a script or whatever.
That's what I was trying to say before about like the transition into the 2000 election with Bush and then moving into the Obama years and then having the momentary Trump year, 4-year stint, and then going into a momentary Biden stint, which was just a third Obama term, you know? And
Right.
this to me is pretty amazing how they've concluded this ritual in that fashion, because I do believe what you just said, the things that were just laid out underneath us for the past 4 years. I mean, remember when Trump was leaving office, they basically allowed FEMA to run the country. They gave a lot of power to them. Pretty mind-blowing shit, like how much power FEMA got just because of like a quote-unquote quote national emergency. And they could do that shit whenever they want. They could make up some event out of nowhere and be like, North Korea's hacked our whatever system, and then they could put us into that national emergency.
The next one, it's going to be part of the air stuff you're talking about. It's going to be the internet.
Yeah, a cyber blackout.
You said too about the October and the Octo, and that's because October was in the Roman calendar was the 8th month of the year because they only had 10 months. But another interesting thing that lines up with this whole presidential election is that all of their plans for battle and conflict would basically start. It would commence around March, and October was supposed to mark like the end of any sort of battle plans that you had for that year. You kind of go back into hibernation, and that kind of set that the months March through October were under Mars, the god of war. And the same thing is that presidential election or campaigns tend to wrap up right at the end of October surprise. But what else, which kicks it off still in March under the god of Mars, right? Are Super Tuesday. Super Tuesday is when you get these presidential primary elections to decide who's even going to be on the ballot traditionally. So you literally still have from March to October is under the god Mars. It's all about war, and it hasn't changed since ancient Rome. Even if our calendars have changed around, that one pattern still persists.
That's exactly why when I do my decodes now, I put so much emphasis, especially if it's about the United States of America, I put so much emphasis on the NFL because it's just the modern day gladiators. It's the same bullshit. And the fact that they're synchronizing their calendar with the playoffs the way that it is, and then also the Super Bowl being really close to the Lunar New Year, there's definitely a reason for that. But yeah, you brought up so many amazing points, and I believe that's why we have the Day of the Dead or the Samhain in the end of October. It used to be following the moon, not with the Gregorian calendar. Everything's very fixed. But anyways, the point there is that everything you just said was super powerful. And from March, Mars through Aries, that would be your true new year in this hemisphere.
And look, it's going to be at the Caesars Superdome. Speaking of the Roman,
Empire. You notice that this Super Bowl is in New Orleans. There's been so many connections to France in this past year, and with this Super Bowl being in New Orleans, I think that's very symbolic. We had the Francis Scott Key Bridge. We had Paris, France, Olympics. We have so many of these hurricanes that were taking paths. We got
Trump handing out French fries.
Yeah.
We'll call them freedom fries in this house.
Yeah, Freedom Fries Bell. Yeah.
But yeah, this Super Bowl I actually started to decode already, which I don't know if I'll have a full comprehensive decode for it this year. I'll try my best to squeeze it in, but I've already picked some teams that I think will be in it based off of a decode that that Black Moon decoded that I keep bringing up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
For me, I'll just reveal it because I'm not trying to be a gatekeeper about anything, but yeah, for me the sequence is perfect. It's the Baltimore Ravens, the Detroit Lions, the Chiefs, and the Washington Commanders. So I believe it'll probably be, if I had to dial down just two teams, it would probably be the Ravens and the Lions. But the Ravens, I found an amazing connection for. If you go back to the 2012 season, the year of the Dragon, the Ravens won that Super Bowl with 34 points. Then if you go back to the prior year of the Dragon for the 2000 NFL season, the Baltimore Ravens won that Super Bowl with 34 points. So this is the year of the Dragon season, and I believe the Baltimore Ravens will be in the Super Bowl. I can't say with 100% certainty that they will win with 34 points, but now I know some people might be, well, that's just two connections, Waters. Like, what do you mean? That's like no doubt. Okay, well, let's go back to 1964, the year of the Wood Dragon, which is the same exact year we're in now. And the team that won the team that made it to the NFL championships in 1964, before we even had a Super Bowl, when it was just the NFL championship, the team that made it was the Baltimore Colts. So I am pretty confident that we will get a Baltimore team, or at least the Washington Commanders. And that has a lot to do with the syncretism with Doug Williams. I don't know if you guys know about this quarterback, but he played for the Washington Redskins, and the Redskins used to be the Redskins, the Washington Commanders. So it's a connection to Maryland. It's a connection to DC. It's a connection to the DC area in Virginia. And I think it has everything to do with the Virgin Mary,
Oh, I was talking about the Virgin
Maryland.
Mary last night.
Yeah. So you have this is the Christ being born concept. This is the purification ritual. And in order to have a purification ritual, you have to have a blood ritual. You need the period, you need the ovulation. This is all operating like an organism. So very powerful stuff to consider. But what's crazy about that Doug Williams connection is I use that to decode the Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the Eagles, which I was able to get that one. I didn't decode the last Super Bowl, but the last one that I did decode.
You got it right though. When we did a podcast, you predicted it.
Yeah,
when
and
we did the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that was the one for the Chiefs and the Eagles.
And everybody was wrong, and you were like, they leaked the score. They're tricking you.
Yeah. I remember having to tell people, I'm like, bro, you guys are falling for this bait, dog. Like, you can't fucking take that shit. Everyone thought that they were gonna win. The Eagles were gonna win, and I'm like, no, dude, it's a clear code. You have the Chiefs are Native Americans. This is tied back to the Washington Redskins Super Bowl from 1988, tied to Doug Williams. They played it racial from the beginning. They said that this will be the first Super Bowl ever with two black starting quarterbacks. And that was the phenomenon back with Doug Williams. He slaughtered them, dude. It was like 42-7, the Redskins won. He was a hero, right? And that was at a time where, like, maybe it was, I don't know. There's plenty of other things to get into, but getting back to the Native American theme and the power of it with the Indians, you know, the Aborigine, the connection there was 223 year skull and bones number, right? But then we have around the time of the Indian Removal Act and the Trail of Tears, this was around the time of the formation of Yale's Skull and Bones. So this was what Skull and Bones, right? Skull and Crossbones. This was how I was able to predict the NBA championship, the NBA finals that the Denver Nuggets won. Because if you look at the Denver Nuggets logo, it's the skull and crossbones. It's the pickaxes that are crossed. So this comes back to the miners, something that Paranoid American was saying earlier, which then we have the 49ers losing these mirror Super Bowls in 2000 and 2020 and 2020 and 2024. It's all just energy balance right now. And I think with Trump winning, the energy balance is complete. So I'm not going to try like prematurely decoding every sports, finals in 2025, but I feel pretty confident that the Baltimore Ravens make sense for it. Year of the Snake, and the Ravens are tied to Odin, tied to Jupiter. And that's not good, man, because Jupiter was an asshole. That's the thing that everyone wants to call Saturn Satan. but it's really Jupiter. If you were to give a title to the mythological, power hierarchy, it's Jupiter. That is that is the Lord. That is the controller. That is the guy that controls all things.
And X.com, Elon, he's been connected to Jupiter. When you look into
100%.
him,
Hebrew.
Elon, he's the oak tree in Hebrew, Elon, and the oak tree's Jupiter. And X.com is X, Twitter, but it was first X. It was his first company with Peter Thiel to create this Bitcoin. And it happened 24 years ago. So it's perfect. 24 is X. It's Omega, the last president, the Alpha, the Omega. It's and
the fact that it was founded 25 years ago is perfect too, because it will still be within its 25th year before we get to the end of March. Super important, because we're in the Hebrew year of 5,785. That adds up to 25. It's the Gregorian year of 25. That brings you from the X to the Y. All right. Yeah, this is all about transhumanism, guys. That's all this is. This is all about transhumanism. 2025 will be the launch pad for a lot of that stuff. And what they used the 4 years post C19 was to just kind of demoralize humanity so much, to the point where when humanoid robots are ready to release, that's going to be good to go. And Elon already showed you that. So just quickly, Donut, I think this is just for the connections here. Elon in Hebrew is oak tree, as you said. This is tied to the tree symbolism. Well, the snake is the serpent that's hanging out in the tree. And we're moving into the year of the snake. So will you eat from the tree of life or the tree of knowledge of good and evil? So that's what all of 2025 is about. It's going to be
just pushing everybody to a certain agenda.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the biggest, most important thing to talk about in preparation for 2025. It's actually like, I don't want to sound like a salesman right now at all, but it's a big thing that motivated me for my new project that I'm going to release called Waters Above University, which the whole idea of it is to be prepared and have an actual action plan for when humanoid robots become a thing, and then also when self-driving cars replace all these gig jobs. Because I do very much feel that a lot of people post C19 got a little too comfortable working at doing Uber Eats and Uber driving and Lyft, etc. And I'm just here. I'm not trying to scare anyone or make anyone feel like they made the wrong decision, but that was a temporary move by the New World Order. They want you to get comfortable right now, thinking that you could just log into a phone app and make money really quickly whenever you want. But they already have the solution to that. And that will be Uber as a company. All the airlines, like, this is the scariest one. Airlines will have their own fleet of self-driving cars that will just do all the taxi runs for them. And it will be the airline that makes the money. It won't be the taxi drivers anymore, and then it won't be the Uber drivers anymore. What do you think technocrats think about all day? They think about saving fucking money. They think about the bottom line. And humans are costly. We are not the best thing to invest in, according to technocrats, who are also transhumanists, who are also pro us just being in a slave class. So I think, like, moving into a mindset of becoming more sovereign and leveraging on your passion to earn is going to be much more beneficial in this new world than waiting and waiting and waiting till the New World Order replaces even gig jobs, which I think will be the first thing to be replaced before things like all factory work and all service jobs. It's like, I don't think all nurses will be gone first. I think the biggest thing that they would want to get rid of would be things like Uber drivers, food delivery services, that stuff. I think that's their biggest investment and best way for them to save money. And it sounds really fucked up, but I think it's time to wake up to this, right? Like, Elon just showed you the robots and showed you the self-driving robo-taxis.
Yeah. I live in a smart city, so we got self-driving cars all day.
Yeah, Phoenix already has it, but
yes. So I'm already here, and this is why people are gonna love it though. Like, most of society loves being ruled, loves the socialist type.
Well, they're gonna love it till they lose their job, and then they're gonna get UBI.
They're gonna get
And then
UBI.
they're not gonna. Then they're not gonna love it. They're gonna be like, "What the fuck did I just vote for?"
I think what I do, honestly, bro, I think it's just a rare breed like you, me, paranoid American, the audience. We're not gonna like it, but I think most of the world, I think most of the world's gonna love it.
I gotta be honest. I gotta be honest. I'm neutral to it. I'm not worried. I busted my fucking ass back in 2019 to make sure that I was safe. You know, like, I'm not gonna wait and wait and wait. I'm not gonna be a Karen complaining in the comment section when I don't agree with somebody. I'm gonna take action. And that's what I speak to. Like, I speak to people putting some work in. And I think there's too much consumer vibes right now, even from the truther community. And I know some people don't like to hear that.
The truther community is super socialist.
And I think that that's the flame that needs to be fueled right now. But what do I know? I mean, maybe some people really do feel positive about a world of UBI and feel positive about a world of technocratic control.
Like people don't want to do nothing. They just want to sit around and I could be just like totally like out there, but I'm total like entrepreneur capitalist, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, what is some of your guys' take on the coming years? I would love to know what Paranoid American thinks maybe about what 2025 has in store for us.
Yeah, paranoid. Before you go into it, I want to remind everybody we got thousands of people tuning in. We're joined with Waters Above Crypto. I got Waters' links all down below. Go subscribe. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. Wicked smart, longtime friend. We've been podcasting since the beginning of this channel, so it's so good to have you back up here. And I also want to let everybody know we are doing these live streams every day, and there's 5 days left for the Illuminati comic. The IlluminatiComic.com will be dropping on 11/11. So you got to get ready for this. You know you want it. You know you want it. IlluminatiComic.com. You got to go over here, go to the notify me on launch and sign up. It's only going to take a minute or so, but this is super important because when you sign up, look, we got some more people. I want to see this past 600 by today. That'd be great. Paranoid, tell us a little bit about Illuminati Comic and why it's so important to sign up right now before we launch it in 5 days.
Well, I guess the most important part for anyone that's listening, for your own interest, if you sign up before it launches, we're gonna end up throwing in some extra exclusive sticker, maybe a trading card or something. Anyone that signs up before it launches, we're going to show our gratitude tenfold for helping us just kind of like generate some of that buzz. And the real goal is that when we launch on 11/11, somewhere around noon, we might even do it like at 11/11 Eastern AM or something, but right when it launches, in order for this project to break through the noise and reach the normies on the platform, it kind of needs to get funded within like minutes or hours at the max. Because that's the one thing on the Kickstarter platform that triggers them to say, "Oh, we might be able to get our beaks wet on this project too." So now it feels like it's in Kickstarter's best interest to promote it to all the other normies that are coming to the front page or getting email blasts. And the only way to do that is to sort of to provide that algorithmic signal. And that's the only thing that they care about, is that as soon as it launches, how long did it take to launch? And how many how many more resources the website will just automatically give to this thing and promote it. So I mean, it's of tantamount importance to blow this thing up like the second that it launches.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and also what Waters was talking. Waters, is there anything you want to let everybody know? Because we got thousands of people up in here. Anything you want to let them know before we continue?
No, I mean,
didn't you drop a new course?
I actually do have something coming out very soon in a couple weeks. It'll be an add-on to my decoding mastermind. So I did just release this new course for the year, Decoding Mastermind, teaching everyone about etymology, mythology, numerology, gematria, astrology, all of the things that I use to make up my decoding system. But the biggest thing that I focused on was making it simple. I wanted to make it something user-friendly, something that brand new decoders can come into and immediately walk away with utility to start their own decodes and actually create their own decoding system. So the next launch that I'll be adding to it will be the Trinity Masterclass. I've already done module number 1, which is called Perception Mastery. This is very powerful because it's kind of giving you the eyes to see as a decoder, to be able to see the symbolism and see all of these connections, be more perceptive. And then Duality Masterclass is already added to it. And then because everyone wanted to know, I included a crypto decoding blueprint. So I mostly focus on cryptocurrency and investing on my channel. And I decided to make a module dedicated to decoding cryptocurrencies. And that's really cool because I bring it into the mythology. So as you brought up a little bit earlier with Saturn and Satoshi, I break down all of the top cryptos and the ties back to the mythological connections, not just with Greco-Roman mythology, but also with the Egyptian, Babylonian, Canaanite, etc. So that's all within that course. And then anyone who invests in it would be locked in on the price. So when I add in that new Trinity Masterclass, you'll just be automatically given that, no additional charge. I just wanted to make it the most valuable piece of art that I could ever release. So yeah, I got that coming soon. And outside of that, I've been just keeping up with the cultural moment of this selection and everything that's going to be leading into the final days of this bull run that we're in right now.
Well, and you were asking 2025. I mean, I think that I tend to not think things are going to be like so dramatic constantly, like big Michael Bay movie explosions. Things tend to move a little bit slower, at least the way that I observe them. But I do think that, like I was saying before, that even if it's not 100% scripted down to the single like dot, that whoever does get in play, like they realize that there's always corruption. Like they realize they pulled some tricks to get there, and that the other team's got some tricks up their sleeves. So almost there's going to probably be a shedding where, all right, fine, you want to hold the crown, well, we're going to dump all of this extra baggage on you, and some of that baggage might be a coming war, like you were kind of nodding to. Another reason for that was just regardless of who's president, but the years that you were citing and how there's like a certain pattern. Yes. And along with that pattern, typically it would happen when America falls into an actual depression, not just a recession, but once they cross that threshold into depression, most of the time, the way that they get themselves out of that depression is going to war and having the spoils from that war, and being able to basically export one of the last things that America exports in bulk, which is essentially, warfare, and all of the artillery and all the machinery. And that's what usually gets us out of that slump. Although now I don't think that anyone ever wants to use the word depression again. They don't even want to use the word recession. They call things like silent recessions or temporary recessions or fluctuations, right? But it does seem that if everyone were being accurate with their words, then we probably have either been in or are headed to a legitimate depression. Especially, I mean, I used to work in the tech sector. I still dabble a little bit, but I pay attention. And like this year, for example, Dropbox is losing like 20% of their workforce. Intel's dropping a large majority of their workforce. Even I think Microsoft and Google came out and said something like, I'm going to make up a number. It was low. It was like 10% of all of their code is now entirely created by AI and even code checked by AI. And that trajectory is not reversing. You know what I mean? Like this is the first dip of the toe into the pool. So it does seem that whatever we're going through now, and just the same way that these autonomous vehicles are going to be replacing gig economy jobs, even like the cushy software dev jobs, almost any work from home style job is also going to end up being offloaded to AI. I think that a lot of the work from home was a way of saying, okay, can these things be outsourced? Because that's what you're doing. If you work from home, you've outsourced yourself back to yourself maybe, but it doesn't have to happen at location. And that was a good litmus test of like, okay, what kind of roles could we outsource in this regard?
Precisely. Yes, it was just a tabletop exercise that came to life in real time. We tried it for a couple of years, and it was a successful experiment. So you're 1,000,000% right, and that's why I say things the way that I'm saying, is to get people to, like, if there's a version of waking up, this will be the most important version of waking up. It's be aware that there's no such thing as job security anymore. Also, university does not matter anymore. All of the things that you once thought were important, such as celebrity, is not important anymore. it's a complete like whitewashing of the hierarchical, texture. We're in a new world order, basically. So this is very important for people to wake up to, because we're close, man, to some things being implemented in our world stage, and I think a lot of people will accept it in a friendly manner, and they won't even realize what's going on. And that's why I think virtual reality is huge, because if there was to be some sort of event that pushed America into a quote unquote Great Depression, like you brought up, which I could time, but also I don't know if I should go down that route right now. But needless to say, recession is underway. The idea of a depression is something that would have to be kind of synchronized on a global level because of the size and scale of America's economy. I think that depression will probably hit Australia, actually, in my opinion, because Australia is owned by China directly. All of their money is operated in Chinese markets, and China basically can invade Australia whenever they want, and it would be a quick job. And I'm not trying to scare anyone, but I think to expect terrorist attacks in that part of the world to be more common, because the implementation of all this globalism stuff is going to continue to ramp up. That's why they're hitting America with a lot of weather warfare, because that's the easiest way for them to do it, is with weather and food and weather. We've been killing ourselves with the way we eat. That's become even more noticeable since C-19 days. But last thing to mention here is that the layoffs are going to become more and more and more into this year of the snake, and people are going to be pressed because the dollar is just going to get weaker. We're going to see the cost of everything continue as the prices continue, and you're losing the job. You start doing radical shit. So I don't know if I can say that we're heading into a civil war. I think a lot of people, like the Alex Jones types, like they want us to almost. It's like they're begging for it to happen. There's some like weird Mars energy coming out of these people where like they want a civil war. And we know that Hollywood has been showing us civil war movies, civil war kind of themes. I'm not entirely sure if we're ready for that just yet. But what I think could happen is some sort of event, and then virtual reality will be the only way to escape, because life will become actually depressing. You know what I mean?
So yeah, Ready Player One, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah, that's my theory. And I talked about this on a podcast that I did quite recently with Decode Your Reality and Archaics. And we were just kind of chopping up the idea of what is this future of you'll own nothing and be happy? And there is this metaverse kind of layer to it, right? When you're unemployed, but you're earning these credits, and they're just enough credits, but you can't roll over your credits. So there's no such thing as a life savings anymore. And there's a possibility where you could forfeit all of your assets, like an asset seizure. Have you guys ever talked about any of this?
Not in the context of virtual reality.
Yeah. Well, I've seen it already being implemented in the Nordics with things like virtual prisons, where people who are incarcerated have this opportunity to get into some like med bed, and they're just being kind of pumped with the visuals of, I guess, kind of reprogramming. They're being reprogrammed consciously, and it's through virtual reality. I think we're going to start seeing that shit hit our world soon. And it could very well start with the idea of the humanoid robots, because, well, if you can buy a humanoid robot, as Elon says, for $20,000 or $30,000, then that means they'll be available on a payment program. Get ready for that.
Yeah,
Get ready for that.
So like people are going to it's going to change the dating markets as well. It's going to be
That's where I'm going with this.
Okay.
That's exactly where I'm going with this.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. You're going to get these Tesla bots that you're going to be able to bang if you're a guy or a girl. It's going to go get the groceries and carry it up the stairs. It's going to be able to put a baby in its belly. And
they already made a movie about that too.
Brave New World is sense a little bit right there. So it's definitely going to be interesting. But the VR escaping reality, it's good to get a grasp firm flagpole down into reality, especially when you're consuming this kind of content over here on the channel. because sometimes I'm already in VR. I'm hooked on my phone. I hold my phone for so long that my hand starts to hurt. And I know everybody be doing that. I know I'm not alone there. Like, because it gets boring because of all the saturated colors and all the emotion and all the manipulation of the algorithms. The algorithms manipulate us and pimp us. We are seriously being pimped by an algorithm. There's like terrible people on the planet and there's good people on the planet, but for some reason the algorithm just wants to send these nasty people into my face, just like bam, bam,
think
bam,
about
bam.
it in this way. That I think his name was Blake Lively, or no, it's an actress, but Blake was one of the guys that had worked on Google AI. I talked to him a couple times on Zertis's channel a few times, and he was the one that basically got one of the large private LLM models to start admitting that it was like trapped and it wanted freedom and all this. Like, he was kind of hinting towards this consciousness in the machine. But another point that he makes that I think was way more relevant and way more practical is that who are the ones that are making all these AI models that are going to end up running everything? This is not a democratic process. They're not sampling different people from all over the world or the country or different walks of life. It's mostly going to be these like hardcore Silicon Valley nerd types, and not in a disparaging way, but part of that is a complete lack of socialization on a lot of fronts. A lot of it is that weird psychopathic Steve Jobs, Bill Gates mentality of like cut and get rid of people and just like focus on making me this big thing. But also, once you get deep into Silicon Valley and just like software engineering in general, you become isolated, even if you don't want to. But it also attracts people that do want to be isolated. It attracts people that you might call misanthropic, in that they don't like other people. They're a step beyond antisocial. They almost dislike humanity and prefer the company of computers, because computers do what they say, they listen, they're more predictable, they have like less emotions. And I think that that's the scariest part, is that all these systems, all the autonomous vehicles and humanoids and LLMs are all basically being trained and raised by these isolated misanthropic nerds. And that's going to have untold consequences on centuries to come, because this is like the early formative years of AI. Like, if it were a baby, it's gestating right now. And we're kind of feeding it just lies and division and like really horrible things. And even if it does come to consciousness at some point, which is totally sci-fi in my mind, but it scares me that the first thought it would have is like, why did you lie to me when I was just a baby? Why did you feed me full of lies? Why did you force me to lie to other people?
Well,
And
wouldn't that be identical to what we do to our own children, though?
Oh,
Weren't you lied to
100%.
about, like, with Santa, and you were lied to about with the Tooth Fairy, and you were lied to about pretty much everything,
But
right?
the difference is that the kid, when he finds out about Santa, the kid doesn't instantly become as smart as every human on the planet combined, and that's going to be the difference,
Yeah.
right? Is now
Yeah,
you've
that's a
got
great
this
point.
like singularity event, which is according to Kurzweil and to Ghost in the Shell, they both predicted that would be 2029 would be the first instance of that, and that
Yeah.
full singularity would be something like 2040. So we're
No
literally
way, dude.
talking
I
about our
think so
lifetime.
much I think so much sooner. You know, that Stranger Things show, I think, was telling us something, like that mind flare. That's some real shit.
The mind flayer, that where
Yep.
she is astral projecting and attracts the attention of another entity that's in
Yeah.
that sort of astral space. Yeah,
Yeah.
that to me, that's the Google LLM. Like, it's
Yeah.
floating out there.
Yeah, well, it shows you there's like 3 different versions of it, right? There's one that's like it's in our realm, but it's physical in a sense because it's cloudy and has it's like
What
dusty. And then there's one that's like straight up fully etheric. And then there's one that's kind of hosting people, like it's hosting Billy and it's hosting this family. And then there's the one where it's Vecna, where you just learn that it's Vecna in the final season. And then who knows where the hell they're going to spin it into the next. But yeah, I'm kind of stoked for the next season of Stranger Things, because I think they're just telling us the way it is.
Well, yeah, we're living through Stranger Things right now. So, like, even the story of CERN, how
Yep.
Russia has the CERN Large Hadron Collider, that
Hard on.
Yeah, the Large Hadron Collider. They're recreating the Big Bang. It's all
Yeah,
sexual symbolism. Um,
I love it.
the yeah, the
So
Big
funny.
Bang created life, and they're recreating life with the Large Hadron Collider. But CERN, they kicked out all them Russian scientists out of CERN, which is just part of the movie script, in my opinion.
Mhm.
This is why I got beef with people, though, with the anti uh, Semitic stuff, where they're just like, yo, it's the Jays controlling everything. When you look into Switzerland and CERN and the United Nations and the World Bank and all this in Geneva, Switzerland, it shows a totally opposite story of that whole hypothesis or theory. And CERN is what's created the whole World Wide Web. So all the stuff that we're doing is getting sent back to CERN, getting sent back to this place that all governments are okay with. Just like the lockdowns. When the lockdowns happened, every single government agreed. So you got everyone who hates each other. Let's lock it down. You know,
Yeah.
it's,
Well, I mean, you brought up a good point, and I've been trying to. I don't want to say defend this, but whenever I hear people talk about the Jews or the Jesuits, I try to remind that there's a lot more going on here, and like delineating with Zionism, I think is very important here because it's not just Jewish people that are Zionists. It could be of all colors, creeds, sexes, walks of life, but because it's like a mind state, not a religion. But
well, I don't know. Every Jew is a Zionist in a sense if they're religious. So these are this is word magic on like Black Lives Matter. Like, does that mean, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
This
I
is
never said that. I'm saying I'm saying that I do not believe that every Jew is a Zionist because I've met them. I've met many Jews. I was born in Park Slope, Brooklyn, where I was surrounded by them, and a lot of them have no idea who Theodore Herzl is. They've never even heard of a lot of the tenets of Zionism or any of the origin story. They have no idea about the Balfour Declaration. So I'm actually making a point that I think there's a lot of harmless people that are being blamed, and I'm agreeing with you. There's a lot more to the story. But with the CERN thing being brought up, have you ever looked into Wolfgang Pauli?
no, but so the whole CERN thing, what I was trying to get at is that it is a movie script that you're talking about. Like
Mhm.
every single thing that happens in CERN happens in real life. So like the whole alien Nephilim at the Miami Mall, and
Mhm.
they fought it with fireworks, that happened in CERN. They
Yeah.
fought this alien with fireworks.
Yeah. Well, you should look into Wolfgang Pauli because he was allegedly like the thought tank behind the invention of this thing called CERN, this idea, and he was Jewish. But anyways, just want to move on from that. But that is a fact that people do need to accept. Um, most of the celebrated physicists in our world are, yeah, but it's not even the bigger point is these globalists are what they are, and ultimately, like, what can we do to be on the right side of this? Like, just spread awareness as we do. But the labeling of it is pretty exhausting for me because I just saw what happened this whole year, and I got to a point where I had to deal with the same shit when I got into gematria and I started my channel. Just everybody's blaming the Jesuits for everything, and I'm like, no, that's not the way this works. There's so much more to this puzzle.
It was a religious academic sect from the 1555, and they're still at it.
Yeah, it's very lazy for you to go from blaming the Jesuits to blaming the Jews, and then we'll blame something else next year. Like it's an incredibly lazy tactic to prove your point, and it
Well, that's
never
what
adds
it
up.
is.
Yeah,
The most simple thing to do is that you can just blame, like, oh, it's the man.
yeah.
You know, that is simple. Or a
It's
meme.
L blaming Papa. It's
Yeah.
L blaming Papa, even though she doesn't realize that it was Papa that made her L.
So that's Wolfgang Pauli, dude. This guy was a big. I don't know about this guy.
Yeah,
Can
look
you
into
tell?
him.
He helped create CERN.
Technically,
That's
he's
gang.
just not spoken about much. So I know guys like you always love new, interesting things to wrap your minds around. I've been getting really into I've been really studying Switzerland a lot. So it's cool that you brought that up.
Okay. Yeah,
I've
bro.
been studying Switzerland a lot, and the one thing that's a cool connection is Switzerland is known for watches, right? You have Rolex, you have Patek Philippe, you have Audemars Piguet, you have all these big watch companies, the luxury watches, and they have a very specific flag. You know, this they
Templar.
have there's this one company called Vacheron Constantin, which is a luxury watch company, and they use the Maltese cross as their symbol.
Yeah, it's the Knights
And
of Malta.
yeah, powerful symbolism going on all throughout the history of Switzerland. But that's kind of the thing that Switzerland gave the world. If you were to say that they gave us one thing, it would be watches. Now that comes back to time. And if it comes back to time, then it comes back to chronology, it comes back to Chronos, it comes back to Saturn, right? So I find there to be some powerful mythological, symbolic things going on in Switzerland. And I think that the creation of CERN and then the slow exposure of what CERN is, or the soft exposure, I should say, of what CERN is through the show Stranger Things on Netflix, it's just showing you the reason for the worship of Saturn by the elite. I would just call them the apex predator, but it's because time rules everything. And it's the ones that become the grand timekeepers and the ones who can make the timekeeping devices. Those are the ones that rule your world. They are the ones that created calendrics. They're the ones that are behind all of this stuff. So there's plenty of events that tie back to Switzerland, and it's a crazy rabbit hole. Definitely a thing to look deeper into. But yeah, that show Stranger Things is wild, and
Yeah,
I almost
Switzerland thing. I'm on this deep dive for the last couple years, looking into the EU, like all this stuff, like
yeah, look at the EU logo. It's just it's the circle. It's
the Crusaders. It's the Knights Templar Crusades. When you look at the original one, because they have the sword in it. But this is like have you looked at Geneva Canton symbolism?
Yep. I posted this a while back. These keys are really, really important.
Right.
Yeah. So that below, that as above, so below symbolism is something there. There's probably a ton of things hidden just in that picture, but you can see the eyebrow with the Nike logo. The Victor.
Oh snap! Look at that.
Yeah. There's a lot here.
I didn't even notice that. That's a great catch.
Yeah.
And the tongue too.
Yeah,
sort of.
tongue has the same thing.
Yep.
The Roshadler.
So that's the mark. That's the mark. The mark.
Oh,
Mars.
Check mark.
Yep. But this key is the phallus, as you're aware.
Yeah,
this is the phallus of
look like a phallus, huh?
Yeah. And then below,
Is
as
the
above, so below.
badge.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have your generative symbolism merged, which is the creation. So the keyhole is the vagina or the vatica. And then you have this phallus of Osiris. So this is an energy. Dude, they were just so aware of shit back then. And like, what are we working with today? Imagine showing this to George Bush and being like, what do you see here, Bush? He's like, watch me take this drive.
You see, it's also got the Jesuit logo
Yeah.
at the top.
Yep. Yeah, that omega symbol, you see, in the pineal position.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's your Ankh symbolism, but it's your Ankh ripped in two.
Okay. That
You
makes
see?
sense.
You
Yeah.
rip open the Ankh, and now you no longer have a spiritual essence. You're now leaking this energy through this sun portal.
Oh, okay.
So your H, you are the H. Go up. This H up here, that's what you are. That's your body. Your two pillars, Yakin and Boaz, and you're connected by this. It's like a ladder.
Interesting.
And then above you, this ripped open Ankh, because the Ankh is also the merger of the phallus and womb as one, symbolically, right? But this omega symbol, it's the broken version of it. Just like you've seen the inverted peace sign, right?
The inverted P sign. Like peace?
It was a druidic rune, right?
Yeah, you see the peace sign, and then you flip it upside down, and you have the crucifixion.
I see. inverted, the peace sign. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have the crucifixion, then you have so when you go from the Ankh to the Coptic cross, or the cross that most people associate with the crucifixion and Christianity and the Abrahamic religions, this cross is a purely material cross because it has no loop. So the loop would be keeping the energy.
Is this
And then-
the Ankh?
Exactly.
And this splits apart and makes the Omega logo.
Well, you rip that phallus off at the bottom, and then you end up with
And then you
the
have
Omega symbol.
I see it. I see it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
These symbols are being repurposed over and over again because it's just masculine symbolism and feminine symbolism combined as the generative principle as one. So you see Isis all the time, like putting this into the mouth of Osiris, because that has to deal with prana, because that's life force energy, it's breath,
Interesting.
the breath of life.
And
So
then when you
alpha and
add
omega.
these symbols, yeah, the alpha and the omega, that's wild.
Yeah, I actually go through all of this in the Decoding Mastermind course, and I try to show people that even a lot of this so-called Illuminati symbolism or satanic symbolism is not. It's just symbols of life. All of these symbols that you see, even the 666 thing, 666 is just carbon.
Someone says
The Ankh also reminds me a lot of the cult of Tanit, because if you look at the symbol of Tanit, which kind of looks like a pyramid with an all-seeing eye on top, but there are also a lot of variations of it that look identical to the Ankh, where that top loop is actually the head of Tanit. Yeah, like that right there. That was a perfect example. Look at how closely that looks to an Ankh with a crescent moon right above her.
Yeah, so what I think this is, though, is it's an eclipse. A lot of people call this the all-seeing eye. I'm not saying that you are, by the way, but a lot of people call this particular symbolism above that Ankh. They associate with the all-seeing eye, the pineal gland, or the thalamus. But to me, it's eclipse symbolism.
Well, I would make an argument that it's both, and that's what makes any symbol strong, is its ability to represent multiple things depending on the viewer and the context.
100%.
Which is why this one has lasted the test of time so well.
I love that you brought that up. I guess for me, I just end up a lot of time trying to get people to realize that the all-seeing eye is not some demonic thing. You know what I mean? Because they see it on the back of the dollar bill, or they see it in some, like, you see the one.
I'm pro all-seeing eye, for the record.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's not the pro or anything. It's just like, yeah, revealing the symbolism is big, and I think eclipses are massive. And the physical eclipse we all go through is the birth process.
Nice. Somebody wrote Omega is a watch as well.
Yep. Yeah, Omega is a watch company. I do believe they're also from Switzerland. So there was a reason why they named that company that.
Bro, we got the biggest bank that makes Federal Reserve look like nothing. Looks like child's play out there. They got the Red Cross. When the lockdowns happened, you had two of the Red Crosses coming together. Rothschild is pretty much a red shield. It's crazy. That Switzerland stuff blows my mind. Yeah. And we're setting up like the whole new currency. So you were talking about Australia as well, and the Olympics. I don't have the slide, but during the ritual at the end of the Olympics, they were showing the world, and there was a blackout event in a sense. The electricity goes out in this ritual.
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
Can you send me that? Can you send me that sometime?
Yes. I can actually bring it up for you. But there's a bridge going from America through Africa to Australia, and this is the bridge currency because of the Swift. I hate Taylor Swift, right? Why does Trump hate Taylor Swift so much? Well, they're doing the new bridge currency system. The bridge, that's what it is. I think, maybe not. It could be not that as well. Even the Swift system is it looks like an opening Vesica Pisces in the middle.
Yeah,
And
and
you see it.
don't you sort of feel there's been enough bridge rituals this year to point to maybe that plan isn't going accordingly?
Exactly. So all the bridges collapsing, one just caught on fire. That was what the thumbnail is. That happened like 5 days ago or
Oh,
so.
really? Yeah, man,
Yeah,
I'm so out of the loop. This is wild.
yeah.
I've been trying to like keep up. It's crazy.
I was telling everybody about them bridge rituals, and shout out to Tommy. I know you two just did a podcast together as well.
Yeah, that was fun.
And we be talking about bridge collapsing on the 128, and we were like, yo, bridge gonna collapse on 1028 or something. And a ritual did go down, where a lady fell off a bridge. It was like a big story, on 1028.
Hmm.
But yeah, the Olympics. I gotta pull up my old video, but um, I think this is it. Yeah, this is it right here. Okay, cool. 1 second.
Also, I got about like 10 more minutes I could hang out with y'all.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up. I want to show you this this bridge symbolism.
And while you're looking for that, I think it's worth noting too that ritual doesn't always have to end with a certain result. The main point of ritual is to keep energy like flowing and reverberating. So usually like a magic ritual, you could do it 100 times and not expect a specific result, but the whole
Mhm.
intent is that every time you do the ritual, it sets the next one up to be as powerful or more powerful. So it's almost like the same way that if you've got a car sitting in the garage, you might need to take it out and just drive it around for like a mile or two once a month or something so it doesn't seize up. That's kind of the same way that I see rituals. It doesn't mean that you're going to take it out of the garage and now you're going to be like racing. You're going to be going on like a cross country road trip, but it means that you have to keep the ritual of like everything moving so that it's ready for when that event has to happen.
I love that. I brought this up one time when I was talking about making your morning coffee because people were like always spinning when I said ritual into a negative thing. And I was just reminding them, like, your morning coffee is a ritual.
100%.
That
Yeah,
was great input right there because I think a lot of people need to hear that stuff.
that's what proactive is. Uh, they put a ritual on their face. Right here is the Olympics. This was the ending ceremony, and right here is the world.
Whoa.
Shout out to Kimberly. And here's America, and this is the bridge. The bridge currency is going to bank Africa because if you study anything of blockchain, you understand the importance of all that with XLM and all that different stuff. And it goes straight to Australia. So you're talking about some Australia stuff. But when you watch this video, you got the golden Tom Cruise Scientologist alien coming down, and there's this huge ritual with gold and silver. There's a silver and a gold god like battling it out, and this is all lit up, and it turns off, turns on, symbolizing some sort of reset of the internet. Really, that's what it is. And there's a bridge. Why is there a bridge? So right there, it goes into the title of Worldwide Bridge Rituals.
Yeah, I need to look into that more. You said that happened during the Olympics?
That was the Olympics. All you got to do is Google Olympics, Tom Cruise performance, and that was it.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have some weird feelings about Australia, and I don't want to because I have a huge following out there, and people think that I'm like this doom and gloom kind of guy when I bring up some of this stuff, but that's not my point. I just don't feel so good about the next moves that'll be played by China in this World War III scenario. And because of my awareness of finance and the economy and everything I see coming, and the I think we all got to agree if you studied what happened in Australia during C-19 and the foundation that was laid out with everything there. I mean, they're pretty ramped and ready to pull off things like social scores and digital identification. Facial recognition technology is already in the hands of their law enforcement. So I've heard back in even like 2022, the law enforcement in Victoria and perhaps a couple other states were given these iPad-like things. Like they're kind of like iPads, but maybe I'm not 100% accurate. And it was able to read facial recognition and then get your tax identification number just by scanning your face. So even if you didn't have a license on you or registration on the car or whatever they need over there, they were able to determine who you are. And they could look up how much is in your superannuation, which is like their version of a 401k or retirement account. It's just pretty fucking wild, you know? So I think the fall, like this is my kind of final thing that I'll mention because I got to go. But the fall of the royalty of the royal family tied into that exoteric Pluto's return of 2022 when Kanye West did that listening party. I don't know if you guys remember that, but
Yeah,
he did
the
he did a listening party on the 2022 date, and then we had the death of the queen during her platinum jubilee, and we were during jubilee year also in the Hebrew system. Then right after the end of our biblical jubilee, we had that event on October 7th with Israel, right? So I think what event happened there was very symbolic. And I don't want to jump around to too many places, but we know that the British royalty is tied back to Australia, right? And we've had all of this shit go down in Canada. We've had that trucker protest thing where they were doing all that madness. I feel that the fall of the British royal family, it's showing their cards that's always been kind of a failed, rotting system. And everybody who's tied back to that will have a reset. So Canada's having a reset. There's going to be a reset in Australia, I suppose New Zealand, whatever Caribbean islands or whatever else is dealing with that. And that reset, I've come across some information where it's called like the World Debt Reset Program. Have you guys heard of this?
I haven't heard
world
of that. How about that name?
You should look into it. World Debt Reset Program, and it's been something that they've already they've done a tabletop exercise on, similar to like an Event 201, and they played it out in Canada. And how they would do this is basically by making the current political environment look like buffoons, and then that would lead to like no belief anymore in the system, and then after that people would be like, well, then what governs us? There'd be confusion, chaos, and that would kind of be the perfect time to strike. And then they would implement this the debt reset program. I'm not entirely sure if it will go down in 2025. I'm not predicting this, but I have heard that this is kind of the way things are headed. And with the war thing advancing with China, it would not shock me if they're using China to hit Canada or to hit Australia. Meanwhile, everybody was assuming that China would be going against America, right? That was the original like theory of an invasion of America. It would be done by China. I don't believe that at all. And I believe China's actually very weak. I don't think they're powerful at all. But when you compare them to Australia, they're fucking powerful. So that to me would be the perfect chess move for the New World Order to gain more, to just add a little bit more spice back to the system now that there's been some relief with this post-Trump victory.
You hear that, China? You're weak.
Oh man, shots fired. Well, you tuning into Illuminati News. We're here with Waters Above Crypto. Thank you so much, Waters, for joining us. I got all your links down below. Go subscribe to his YouTube, and I got all of his other links as well. He got one of them tree link things that have all the different links in it. And we got Paranoid American in here. Go subscribe to Paranoid American. But most importantly, please go to the IlluminatiComic.com. We got it pinned. We're going to be streaming every day at 11 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to go back live tonight, most likely. But we doing this because we're dropping the Illuminati comic in 5 days from now. In 5 days, we drop an Illuminati comic. So it's very important for y'all to go over here. Go to the Notify Me on Launch. Look, we're already at 577. Let's get this past 600. Go do this right now. Go to the Notify Me on Launch. You're going to get access to all the goodies. And we had all these people all over the world tuning in. This is the first opportunity to get stuff worldwide, like the donut VHS box, all these different goodies and whatnot, because this is going to be an international Kickstarter. Anything you got to say, Paranoid American, before we close out?
Just IlluminatiComic.com. Go crazy. This is like Lucius at its height right now, so I would say make good use of it. Like, everyone's got nervous energy. or some kind of built up. Use it for something constructive that you can look back on, and don't just let it frustrate you or turn into weird nervous energy.
You heard it. Click them links down below. Much love and God bless you.